Such a pleasure to work with you guys every time I'm here. It's just amazing. So the talk title today actually came from Trey, actually. He went to a retreat with Ricky Byers a couple weeks ago, and he came home and he was sharing some of the things that happened on the retreat. And one of them was this concept of, are you operating on a high level of frequency or a low level, a high level of vibration or a low level? Or what you thinking? Is it on a higher level or is it on a lower level? So I thought the perfect talk title would be, here we go, Are You High? I mean, come on, right? I think it makes perfect sense. I'm sure you're going to think I am while I'm doing this talk, but that's neither here nor there. Dr. Ernest Holmes said, where the mind goes, energy flows. Dr. Holmes, one of his famous quotes, where the mind goes, energy flows. And many times, a lot of the things we think about and are going on in our mind, we really don't want the energy to go there and create it. Usually, we have a lot of avoidance thoughts. In other words, I hope this doesn't happen, I hope that doesn't happen. But remember, you're actually empowering those thoughts by giving them words and feelings and emotions. So wherever your mind goes, the energy's going to flow. So are you moving in that direction of a higher consciousness, a higher accountability for your life, a higher experience level for your life? Is that what you're thinking about? Or conversely, which is everyone's humanity, right? We're thinking about, oh, there's this election coming up, and there's this fight at the HOA, and I can't stand my mother-in-law, and the list goes on, and all that energy goes into those things, instead of using our energy in a way that creates something really good that we want to experience. So the key here is, wherever your mind is going, expect it to happen. And God doesn't know the difference between something good and something bad. It just knows that you're thinking about it and you want it and you've put energy into it. That sucks. I don't like that part. I like this. Stop trying. Stop struggling. Begin to be calm, to trust in the higher laws of life. Even though you do not see them, they are still there. Now, telling me to calm down is not something I can hear, right? And anybody know me, right? Oh, calm down, Joe. Of course, you tell me to calm down, what's going to happen? I can't believe you're telling me to calm down. I'm upset about something, right? I mean, that's my reaction to it. So when someone says, oh, just calm down, I think, oh, those are fighting words. But when you think about it in the spiritual perspective, stop struggling. Just stop struggling. And I like it says stop trying and start doing, right? And begin to be calm. Notice it doesn't say remain calm all the time. Because things are going to move you, like things are going to move me. We can't predict everything that's going on in our life. So it's really nice when we have this ability to just know what we know and be at peace with it while it unfolds. That's the key, is to know what we know and wait 15 years to demonstrate it, so to speak, right? Okay, kind of, okay. Here's a really good one. Love is always creative. Fear is always destructive. Which one are you feeling? Creative or destructive? So I want you to analyze your thoughts about you and your life and your family and your working conditions and your financial condition and your relationships and your health, all those things. And I want to think, are you thinking about them constructively or are you thinking about them destructively? Because whatever energy you put into it is going to be the outcome. And so if you're talking about creative things, have you ever been around a group who's talking about creative things? There's an energy, there's a buzz, there's this thing that happens when you're around them. And conversely, when you're in a group of people who are like Eeyore, you know, looks like rain. You know how wonderful those people are to be around? You're fascinated by them because you're thinking, how can you ever hold on to this much negativity for this long? Anybody, if you can relate to that, say amen. Yeah, see, we got to be careful because, and then we are the company we keep. Oh, God, really? Really? But see, I always think, okay, how many of you, well, when I see negative people, it is my job to lift them up. Isn't it? It's my responsibility. Lift them up. Even though they want to flip me off. Right? It's not always your job. Your job is to be a compassionate listener, a good friend, someone who can hear them, help them if you can, to the degree of which you're comfortable. Because if you go over your comfort level of assistance, sometimes we become resentful and we start depleting our own energy source. So just be cognizant of that. What are you feeling? Creative or are you feeling destructive? This one's a long one, but I love it. And this is the truth. Think about this. Nature will not let us stay in one place for too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding advancement of the soul. This is a wise provision, for should we stay there too long, we would become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. Nature demands change in order that we may advance. So, when I read this, first off, nature is not going to let us stay stagnant. As much as I would love to remain in certain states of consciousness and certain states of bliss and joy, life happens and things change, right? So we're always in the ebb and flow of things, the up and down of things, right? We're always going in and out of relationship. Well, not always. In and out of relationships and in and out of health conditions and finances. All those things are always in movement. They're always in flow, right? So what if we just know that it can't remain stagnant, because do you know people that are too stagnant in their beliefs? Too rigid? You know, when you're in that area of flow, you're bendable. You bend. When you're in that state of rigidity, they break. They break you because you give in to that energy, and it actually can affect it will impact how you feel about your day and your life. Is this making sense? So nature demands that we make changes. What's your next change? Have you even thought about it? Do you have a vision board? Do you have an idea? If so, do yourself a favor, take the idea and take it out of what's swirling in your head and at least just put it on a piece of paper. There's something about the act of taking something mentally and putting it in a physical form so you can see it and read it that starts to create this spiritual chain reaction of it manifesting in your experience. Otherwise, it swirls around with the other 10,000 thoughts you have in a day. And how many people have 10,000 thoughts a day? It's exhausting, isn't it? At the end of the day, you might as well say, I think I would just ran 10,000 laps, because it feels like mentally that's what you've been doing. But start to narrow down just a couple things that you want to experience. Because once we do that, once we put it in writing, just write it, one sentence even, just so that it reminds you of where you want to go. Because that tells the universe, I'm ready. It signals the universe, bring it on. Now, when it brings it on, you better pay attention. Because if it's happening and you're ignoring it, you're telling the universe, well, I said I want it, but I really don't want it. And then the universe says, and so you shall not have it, and you shall not have it abundantly. Ooh, yes. Myrtle Fillmore. I was born and raised in the teachings of unity, and the Fillmores were the founders of unity. You don't have a problem except the one that is in your own mind, and you put it there. I love this idea, and I actually love I love the Fillmores. I quote them all the time. But it's like, that means I'm responsible for all this stuff that's in my head. I got to change that because I'm the one who... No one could people can tell you things and put ideas in your head, but you have to give it residency. You claim it, and it becomes a part of you. And then your DNA, it's programmed into your spiritual DNA that this is a part of you. Does that make sense? Yes. So we don't have any problems except the ones that I'm putting there. And no one can put one in your head to reside there until you give it permission. Before you sign the deed of a permanent idea that's going to be in your consciousness, you might want to rent it for a day. Give it a little test drive before you decide to embody it and have it become your life experience. Yeah? All right, moving on. Oh, Emmett Fox, another one. Whenever you are afraid of something, you are worshiping it. Whatever you fear, you bow down and give it power. Man. You know, it's funny, when I was doing this talk, when I was just creating these things, I must have had something going on, obviously, because when I read something like that, I'm like, okay, what have you been giving power to? Have you gone on the high side of the consciousness and vibration? Are you giving it the higher idea, or are you wallowing in this lower level vibration? So, what I'm afraid of, I've decided to ride in the lower vibration of life, and it owns me. Has anyone ever been owned by fear? Go to a doctor. Actually, just read at WebMD. If you just read WebMD, you'll be scared to death to breathe, right? You know what I'm talking about? Oh my God, I have this symptom, and this. Oh my God, look what I have. And you're like, so boom, there you go. And you're reading it, and now you're like, you call your doctor, and he's like, are you high? Because this is like, it happens one every 50 billion people. This is not you. You got a cold, go to bed, right? Whenever you're afraid of something, you are worshiping it. Be careful what you're worshiping. This is an interesting concept. No one is your enemy and no one is your friend, but everyone is your teacher. Enemies and friends are labels, right? There's labels, and people that have become your friends have become enemies and vice versa, right? You've done that whole gambit before in your life. Ex-husbands, ex-wives, kids, whatever. No one is your enemy and no one is your friend, but they're all your teacher. And you're invited, remember that, and that's you. If you're looked at as not a friend or an enemy, but you're a teacher of love, a teacher of life, someone who gives of themselves to be of service to other people and themselves personally, that's the kind of energy you want as a teacher. That's the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. It's funny, when I picked out the song that Barry sang today, without love, where would we be now? No. Okay, so, we just sang it, right? Hey, did you know the lyrics in the middle of the thing? Because I didn't. I'm like one of those people, without love, and he goes on to sing another phrase, and I'm like, la, 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 la. Without love, right? You know what I'm talking about? So actually, when I said, let's sing that song, I then, the band started rehearsing it, and I'm like, and so I looked at the lyrics, I'm like, well, this doesn't make a lick of sense, except the refrain, which is, without love, where would we be now, right? So I figured, how many people heard the middle phrasing? Probably not many, but a lot of you knew how to sing, without love, 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 right? Am I right? So it doesn't matter about the middle phrasing. What matters is that you heard the most important part of the message. Doesn't matter sometimes the events that we're going through in our life, because they may seem insurmountable, they may seem really huge, but at the end of the day, it's what we take from those lessons in life and move forward. The impact may be sudden and may be somewhat uncomfortable at beginning, but if you look at it and you do in retrospect, which is a lot of times at my age now, I'm looking back at a lot of things that I thought were messed up that actually brought me to a place where life is good and getting better. And as long as I continue to have that belief, that the old unity belief, good, better, best, I'll never let it rest till my good is better and my better is best. Right? All right, how we doing? We good? All right. Another thing, if you believe it will work out, you'll see opportunities. If you believe it won't, you will see obstacles. So, what are you looking at? What are you interpreting in terms of if someone says, let's do something, do you see the obstacles or are you seeing the opportunities? Because that will tell you whether you're flying high or riding on the low train. This makes sense though, doesn't it? Are we good? Are we all right? Okay, good. You're not bored. So I'm reading this book. The book isn't a spiritual book. It's just a different kind of book. But there's a concept in it that came up. And the 3 phases of life. These are the 3 phases of life. Go, slow go, and no go. Right? And the go years, you know the ones I'm talking about, the go years. I kind of think I'm still kind of in my go years, right? I'm still in my go years, and I know there's going to come a time when Trey and I will go, not so much of this, but more of like this, the slow go. And then the no-go years are the years where you sit back and you look at the memories that you created in the go years. And the point is to use your go years to create the memories that the memory dividends is what he calls them. Create some memory dividends instead of financial dividends so that when you're really old, it's not about counting your money, it's about counting your life experiences and realizing that during the years of my slow go and go, I created some memories that I can look at. And that, it's not the stuff, it's the memories of something. I want to thank Sujo because, you know what? That will always, thank you, Sujo, that will always be in my memory. It's like, I will remember that until I can't remember my name. Right? But I'll remember that feeling. And I can recall that feeling. And I can recall the longing for that feeling for so many years and then what it felt like to actually experience it. Because the longing is also part of this process. The waiting, the longing, the desire, the journey to getting there is always part of this really intricate process. But use your go years and your slow go years to create these memory dividends so that when you can look back on them, you realize my life was full. There may have been episodes in my life that were not. And I don't think anybody here has never gone through a struggle or gone through a death or a breakup or a health condition. I'm sure we've all gone through, I bet if we put the list together, it would just be it's from here to India, right? But the reality is every one of them, we created them. They were the problems because we gave them energy. And usually, if we had a problem, we married them. We agreed to it. We signed a contract. We became one with it. We agreed to it. We went in voluntarily. Now, you didn't know things were going to go south, but when you walk into anything, it can either go really great or it's part of the risk of life. It's part of the game that we play with our lives. So use this idea of go, slow go, and no go as just a little litmus test. Where are you? And if you still have some go left in you, go. Do it. Because you don't know when you're not going to be able to do it. Trey and I, we just turned 60, or we'll be 61 next month. By the way, we just celebrated 35 years together. He has tolerated me for 35 years. He makes no bones about that. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Never mind. Go. Oh yeah, go years. So Trey and I have been talking about this idea of go, creating many things in our go years because we want to have that peace that comes from looking at an experience and going, that was really cool. And whether it's holding on to your grandkids or holding the hand of a friend or just being part of someone's life, or you're holding on to your own love for yourself. Experiencing something outside of getting out of the humdrum, day-over-day kind of operation. Take it off of autopilot. So my last slide. All that is mine by divine birthright is now released and reaches me in great avalanches of abundance and in miraculous ways. Say it with me, please. All that is mine by divine birthright is now released and reaches me in great avalanches of abundance and in miraculous ways. I like this idea, is not just a little bit, but avalanches of abundance of health, abundance of loving relationships, abundance of finances, abundance of creativity. Whatever it is, I want a lot of it. And I don't want just a drip and a drab. I want an avalanche of good. And so I have to make sure that my consciousness, my high level of thinking, why am I high? The higher level of thinking is on that idea. Where it's not about limitation, it's not about drips and drabs of this and that, it's not about anything other than my ability to look and say, there are avalanches of abundance, I am part of this journey, bring it on. And just the mere fact that I'm like this and open and receptive to it, it might take a little while, 15 years, it might take a little while, but guess what? It manifested. Now, I could have gone my whole life and gone, this teaching doesn't work. I've tried and tried to manifest this. I have tried. And this comes from usually people who want to be in a relationship, just so you know. The counseling I've done, I have tried everything to be in a relationship. I've tried everything. I'm like, would you want to be in a relationship with yourself? Because right now, I wouldn't want anything to do with you. Usually it has to do with relationships. If you don't like yourself, how's someone else going to like you? Oh, I want him to complete me. Oh, he's not going to complete you, honey. He's going to walk out the door like Gloria Gaynor. Don't turn around. No, you're not welcome anymore. I mean, and that means that means relationships with not just an intimate partner, but with friends and your family and your loved ones. If you can't stand being around yourself, why would you expect anybody else to want to? So you have to bring in that high vibration. So my talk today is just like, let's just keep our thoughts, because I know we're coming into some really ugly times in the political area and all that, and just a bunch of noise. And it's going to be really hard to attach ourselves to the higher vibration and not get caught in the lower vibration conversations. And so I'm imploring you, like I'm imploring myself, to limit the amount of exposure I get to the lower level frequencies, and to be aware of them when I'm around them, and to make a conscious choice to be educated but not immersed. To know something but don't become it, you just have to know what you need to know. And without love, we wouldn't be anywhere. So how do I put love and a higher vibration in that? It's my choice. If I don't, it's the idea that I've chosen to hold on to. It's the idea that I've now bowed to and said, you now have power over me, that I really don't want to have power over me anymore. I want to be able to walk away from this and walk away clean. So every day, we have a choice. Every time you wake up, every time you turn on the TV, every time you look at social media, every time you engage in a conversation, am I taking that high road in the conversation? I always told you guys, when the blind lead the blind, you both end up in the ditch. Right? Someone has to stay out of the ditch. That doesn't mean you can't have the conversation. You just can't go in the ditch and become one with those issues. If you want an avalanche of abundance to flow into your life, I don't want an abundance of crap flowing into my life. I want an abundance of good life experiences rushing into my experience. And that's a belief system that I have to have, I want to have, and I work on. And I implore you to start looking at and saying, am I of that mindset? You're never too old to experience an avalanche of good. There is nobody in the no-go years that wouldn't love an avalanche of good. So whether you're in the go-go, the slow-go, or the no-go, think of this. An avalanche of abundance and good is coming my way. Why? Because I know, because we see the spiritual laws of the universe working when we can't see them, because I know by divine right, this is mine to experience. And the purer I keep that thought, the more pristine I keep that thought, the better my manifestation will be. And guess what? And so ends the lesson, and so starts your journey. Thank you, everybody. Hey.